Hello everyone and welcome back. Let me adjust my microphone. My name is Shannon. This is Made by Boo and I have quite a few projects to talk about today. Doing a quick count, I have 8 different projects that I have worked on over the last 2 weeks, 4 of which are done or done-ish. I'll get a little bit more into that. Hopefully my brain will be fully working today. I am a little bit tired, but I think I babble whether I'm tired or not. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. The first finished object I have is a pair of socks. It's usually a pair of socks because I do them a lot, but it's also easy to grab and on top. Grab the correct label. So the color that I used for this is from Leading Man Fiber Arts. It is their Sparkle Sock in the colorway Red Handed, and there is some details from leftover Muse 2320. I don't have the label for that because I made the socks well over a year ago. I believe the color is Fireside Flannel. So these socks are for my middle child. They are the 4th pair in our series based on Broadway plays for the show Tina. The contrast color there, it's not necessarily because it has a lot to do with Tina. The red and the sparkle is why we picked these ones. And then those were just so that there'd be something easy to differentiate. We do not make matching socks, we have coordinating socks. So hers has the little one there and at the toe. Mine, you will see in a little bit, but mine will have that color on the heel. And then I did do a textured heel. I am sure you're not going to be able to see it on here. Where I did 2 rows of 2x2 rib followed by 2 rows of stockinette and kept going like that just to give it kind of a little bit of, I don't know, something interesting. When I'm doing a lot of socks, especially when I do 2 pairs that are very, very similar, I like to switch it up and do something different. The top of this, I have the pattern over there, but the cuff came from a pair of socks that I got with Annie's Kit Clubs. It's like a fold over top with a eyelet lace detail right here. I don't have the pattern within my reach right now, but I will grab it when I'm talking about other ones in a little bit. So that is my first finished object is just a simple pair of socks. I have not blocked it. You can see the wind ends going around. I will probably block those when the coordinating pair is done. We'll do my next little finished object because this one should be kind of quick to do. So every year for Christmas, I usually do a set of sweaters for the 5 of us in our house with our initials on them. This year the yarn came in late and so I didn't start this last year's sweaters, and I just decided, you know what? I was kind of burnt on doing the sweaters anyways. We were going to end them, like 2025 is going to be the last year I do them because the way we do the colors, everyone will have gotten to pick colors twice. We will each have 10 sweaters and there's no more room for them. That's 50 sweaters. That's a lot of sweaters. But I'm not quite done with the series, so this is one of my monthly projects where every month until I run out of them, I'm doing a sweater to get through last year's colorway and then this year's colorway. So the pattern is, I believe it was a free one. It's from Red Heart and it's the Noel Knit Sweater Ornaments. And then that is the basic part of it. And then I made a grid for the letters myself. I've done the first sweater. I used Knit Picks palette, and then my husband picked the colors for this year's sweaters, and they are semi-inspired by the San Francisco 49ers to kind of look a little jersey-like with the red and gold. I was kind of hoping doing the white cuffs would look a little more jersey-like, but of course it's a sweater, so it just looks like a very Christmassy look. But yeah, the first sweater is done. I will have one of these done every month. It is one of 3 projects that I am working on monthly. So it's a little thing, but it is a finished sweater. I have 9 more to go to get through last year's and this year's. When I get through the first 5, the next person will pick the colorway and we'll start the next one. So the other next finished object I have is a little bit down. This is also one where it's not really a finished object, it's just the work that I was going to do for the month of January is finished. Let me get the pattern designer's name. So this is the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart. I am doing it using the Ruby and Roses Advent Calendar from 2024. So this is the last one, and every month the plan is to get 2 colors. So I have completed 2 colors. I have the 3rd color tied on just so that I could continue the round. And it's been a little tempting to keep working because it is nice and soothing and I like it. And the next color is another nice purple, and I'm just enjoying how it's working up. But part of doing some of these projects as monthly was to make sure that I got them done, but I also did not overwhelm myself. I did have a question last time about doing all of my advent calendars with just kind of breaking it down by monthly. I do have reasons why I'm not currently doing that. I'll get into that a little bit later, like maybe towards the end I can talk a little bit more about my upcoming projects and my project plans and get into more of why I thought about that but did decide ultimately not to do it that way. Alright, so my last finished object is a little bit longer of an explanation because I'm a little sad about it being finished for a couple of reasons, which we will get into right here. So this is the Crochet Advent Baby Blanket by Lucienne Crochet, and it is using Wonderful Wool, the Advent Calendar from 2024. It will be the first Advent Calendar project I finish this year. I'm trying to make it a goal to finish all of the Advent calendars from this year and the one that I had left from 2023 before Advent calendar season comes at the end of the year again, so that I'm not just continuously collecting them and then doing nothing with them. I'm on track to do that. Again, we'll talk about that more in project planning stuff. So, 2 weeks ago, I was somewhere on here. Oh, there it is. So, I had done a whole bunch of these colors. It's going to be really hard to get this whole thing in shot. So here is the entire thing. And then way down here, I'm sure I look ridiculous, sorry. That is where I was 2 weeks ago. And then I just kept going. This Advent calendar had 25 mini skeins, and I've made this pattern 2 other times. Each other time I have done it with 25 mini skeins and then a 100 gram contrasting skein. The other 2 times, one came with it for a advent calendar, so I used the main skein it came with, all the mini skeins. I even added some of the main skein in as a stripe because I was a little worried it wouldn't be long enough. This one, my contrast color was from Les Garçons. It was their Mysterious Bat colorway. And I thought it looked great in it. The reason I'm a little sad is this is technically stripe number 23. I have 2 more from this advent calendar. And yet I am done because this is all I had left of my main skein. I don't know if my count on the width was different the other times than this time, and therefore I just used more. I don't know if my gauge was different, but I weighed it in my last couple of rows. I had 5.6 grams, did this stripe, and then I had 1 point something grams. Way not enough to do another one. So all that this is really enough to do is go into my magic knot. I have a little bag right here. I was holding on to it. This, I put scraps that are less than 5 grams in, and eventually when this bag gets full, I tie them all together into a magic knot ball. And I don't know what I'm going to do with those yet. But I'm a little sad because, like, I had these two colors that 2 weeks ago I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do both of them because they're very, very similar, but I don't know, I don't want to make it not long enough. And then I ended up with 2 unused colors. So I could have pulled one of those out and used one of these. I don't know 100% what I'm going to end up doing with these now. I think they're just going to go into my scrap baskets. I sort them all out by weight. These will still make great like cuffs, heels, toes, something of socks. They're gorgeous colors. I'm mostly okay with the fact that the blanket is done early because I wanted to finish it this weekend. I still need to block it. I still have the ends. I usually crochet over the ends as I go along, so I will trim them once it's blocked. And, you know, using it, it's a good length, it's pretty. I'm just kind of sad because I did not start the project with the knowledge that I would be leaving 2 colors out. If I had had that knowledge when I had started it, I would have done things a bit differently. I would have pulled out one of those 2 colors that are both very, very similar, and I would have pulled out probably like this banana-y yellow here because it's fine. I just don't really like it, but I don't know, maybe it's better in the blanket because I like it better with everything else. But I would have been very intentional about the colors that I pulled out to make sure they were colors that I would enjoy with something else. And I mean, I can definitely see this one might be hard to see. It's very, very black with just little flecks of like purple and pink. I am sure I have something that this will go great with. This, it's bright blues with purples and pinks. Again, they're colors that I enjoy, so I am sure I could put them together with some yarn I already have, some scraps, a plain skein that's just looking for something, and it'll be fine. But because I didn't get to pick which ones, I'm a little bit more sad about it. It's fine. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to pull it all out and redo it because of the way it turned out. It's just more of a, I wish I'd realized there was going to be 2 colors left out when I started, because I either would have picked a different contrasting skein to try to make sure I could do more, or I would have been more intentional in picking which colors were left out. And then it would have been like, well, I'm going to pick this one out because it's going to go with this, and I would have already had it planned. It does not really matter. I have a whole bunch of scraps that they will be used, and I still like the colors, and I still like the blanket. It was just, I was working on it Friday after work. My plan had been to work on it all through Friday, work on it Saturday morning, and have it finished. And instead, I just kind of had this abrupt finish where I thought I was going to have 2 more colors, and then instead I'm just sitting there and I'm done. It was just, it came on much more quickly than I anticipated, and it just kind of leaves you with that weird feeling. So after filming today, I am going to set this up to block. I always give it like a good long soak. Sometimes I block big things like this in my washer and just put it on a delicate onto the rinse cycle. So it soaks in the water, and then I just close the lid, and all it does is drain the water and spin it. And that usually is good for big things like this, but sometimes I also get a little nervous with how heavy it spins it. It's like it's going to get a lot of the water out, but then when I pull it out, I always worry that it's stretched too much. It's always fine, and that's probably what I will do with this as soon as we're done filming, because it's really the best I can do to wash a blanket. I may technically throw in one of my other crocheted blankets as well, because if I'm already running the water, go ahead and let them both soak and get washed, but we'll see. Alright, so, sorry, so itchy. Once all the wool is going around, I swear, little bits of fiber are all in the air. So I have 4 more works in progress. I will start with the most simple ones. This is the coordinating pair of Tina socks. I've already talked about them a little bit, but I'll pull out the pattern now. It is the lavender lace pattern. I did actually make this pattern. It's got a whole lace thing in it. Looks like the design is by Lena Skavagerson. I am probably butchering your name. If you're watching, I am so sorry. But I made the pattern with the actual like lace in the pair of socks that came with this kit. For these socks, I was only doing the part of the pattern that applied to the cuffs, and that was it. So mine, the cuffs are all one color. I made mine a little shorter, partially because I just kind of wanted slightly shorter socks, but also as I've been going through this project where I'm making the 2 pairs of socks, by the time I get to the second pair of socks, I'm kind of burnt and I'm done. And that's why the last couple I've made my daughter's first, because she likes the taller socks. And that way, if I feel like making them shorter, I like taller socks, but I do also like shorter socks. So this is the first sock. I might be done with the gusset on this one. I think I'm done with the gusset on this one, and I'm partway through the gusset on this one. So they're both very, very close to the same spot. I did do the same texturing, 2x2 rib, followed by 2 rows of stockinette on my heel. I just made the heel contrast. And then this was the leftover Muse 2320. Though I do have another little bit of it that will go in the Magic Knot ball because I made these socks into something and the others were left over. And there was enough of it, obviously, for heels, toes, and everything. And there still will be enough to go into my bigger leftover bucket. So these have been mostly a travel project. I will probably work on them like while editing today, and then they will go in the car with me because they're perfect for like if I have a little bit of time before work. I work on them in gymnastics, and I do tend to get socks done decently quickly that way. I am almost on the foot. I'm hoping to have these socks done by the weekend so I can get started on the next and final pair of Broadway socks, which will be Wicked themed. So you will most likely see those in 2 weeks, or at least the starts of them. The next project I have, this is almost done. So this came from an advent calendar that my mother sent me from Missouri Star. And it is a monogrammed felted accessories felt kit. And so it came with the instructions, a big piece of felt, which I have obviously cut some off of. A chalk pen that I didn't really like and I used one of my own. And then some stencils that had like flowers, and this one. There's also a bunch of letters to make the various things. So I am making the eyeglasses kit. I'm going to make them for my sunglasses. It chose to do them like with letters. I didn't want a letter on there. I just wanted the flowers. So I got all the flowers. I used some like embroidery crochet cotton. There we go. Crochet cotton that belonged to my husband's grandmother. I inherited it a while ago, and I used it to do the flowers. I might get some more felt so that I can make a glasses case using some of that cotton that belonged to my husband's grandmother for his mom, because I think she would enjoy having that. So technically what is next is to fold it over and just to sew it closed. The back is a little messy. I know not everybody cares about that. Some people do. I don't. The only thing I'm not sure about is if I should put like a little dab of glue on these flowers. My daughter recommended like ironing some interfacing over it because I just want to make sure that putting glasses in and out of it does not pull any of those knots loose. I'm not sure if I'm going to worry about it or not yet, but I did not attempt to fold it over and sew it this morning because of that reason. So I don't know if I'll actually show it once I fold it over and sew it, because this is basically what it's going to look like. And as soon as it's done, it's probably going into my purse to hold my sunglasses so they don't get scratched. So that's a mostly finished project. It's just deciding if I need to do something with those ends before I sew it. Alright, so the next 2 projects you have seen before, but it may have been a little while. One of them, I don't know how much I'm going to keep working on it right now. It's been almost a year since I last worked on it. So I started this project last March because I just kind of had this itch to start working on some of my scrap yarn. I still really want to do it, but I also really want to do a lot of projects that create scrap yarn, like new projects. But then I realized with the things that I had going and what was accessible to me at the time, because my socks were out in my car, that I didn't have any projects that were small. Like I could do 1 or 2 short rows. That really worked for like when my child is taking a bath and I'm just sitting there waiting for her, and it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes. You don't know. But as anybody who has children in this stage knows, she's kind of in that stage where she's 99% independent in there, but I still stay within earshot because sometimes she does still need help with things. So I pulled out this project. This is my coziest memory. There we go. So it is a fingering weight yarn. I'm not holding it double or anything. I'm following the coziest memory. I cannot remember who the pattern is by, but I keep it all right here in my phone. Kemper-Ray, there we go. So it's the coziest memory by Kemper-Ray. I don't really keep the pattern open. I opened it again when I put another square on because when I first started it, I did like 10 squares the first month, 6 squares the second month, and then nothing since then. Until now, where I have done 1, 2, and part of it. So I just kind of refreshed my memory when I went to do another one. Was like, okay, how many stitches am I picking up to make each square? Once I had that reminder, I just kind of kept going, and it's been fine. They do feel like they're going a little bit bigger. Maybe it's because my gaze, my tension has changed in the year, because these squares definitely look bigger. But I'm not too worried about it because it's all picking up off each other. It's all going to be fine, and it's just going to be a scrappy blanket. I did do the method where each of them kind of goes out, because I genuinely don't have a size plan on this. I'm basically thinking probably like lap blanket size, and when that's done, I will decide when I'm done. But I don't know how many squares that's going to be. I did not want to do a row, and now I'm committed to 20-something, 30, whatever the row is, because what if I decided when I cast on that I'm going to make it big enough for a queen size bed? Well, now I'm stuck with that. So I'm working around. I am vaguely planning on finishing this row, and then I don't know if I'll do this side, this side. I'll just pick another side and go and try to keep it as an even square. I'm keeping this in the middle to help me remember where the middle is. So yeah, I might keep working on it as just kind of that little background project here and there. I mean, as it is, just working on it, mostly when my child is doing her basic grooming kind of stuff, like those little moments. I've gotten 2.5 squares in. I did do it a couple of other times where I did not have the mental capacity for the big project I was working on, so I just did a few extra rows on that. But I also do have a few other things that might fill that time. So I'm going to kind of just try to keep going back and forth, coming back to this coziest memory, and try to make sure that I'm consistently getting work done on it. But I also want to make sure that I'm getting all of the projects done that I want to do. So it does kind of make it hard to decide when the best time to work on it is. All right, so one more project. This has been a lot of projects. I feel like I haven't talked about this many projects in a video in a while. So hopefully it's not too much. So this is the passport shawl. It came with a Mystery Mouse advent calendar. I'm trying to see if I have a designer name. Sorry. It was by Holly Armstrong of the Mystery Mouse Yarn Company. So, passport shawl for their advent calendar from 2023. So this advent calendar was Agatha Christie themed, and it was a lot of fun to get. I'm trying to see if I think I have all my labels weird. So this one was based on Death on the Nile, and it has a bunch of minis that are all in here, mostly used. Okay, sorry, getting organized still. So, where we were last time, is there is this like kind of kite shaped in the middle, and I had worked up to here, and then I finished going up through the 11th color. It's 12 mini skeins, and then it came with the main skein. You can see I have started on the wings that come out on the side, but this is the main skein that came with it. As you can see, that is not that color. This has been untouched. So before I started this, I had seen in the pattern that it said this 100-gram skein would not be enough to do both wings, and that you would need to weigh it, figure out how to do it, and then stripe some of these leftover minis in it. And that was one of the reasons I had not worked on this pattern for a very long time, because I didn't know how I was going to do that, and I didn't want to be unhappy with how it looked. So it was one of those where it's like, I've got to figure out my plan before I start it. And then when I was like, okay, well, I really want to work through these advent calendars and this one. I mean, I do like this drawstring bag too, so I wanted to do the project so it was not all stored in that bag anymore. And I really wanted to get these projects done. I wanted to get it started. And I kind of cruised through the pattern and I was like, oh, I don't see that part where it says I need to do that. I must have imagined it, so it's fine. I will just dive right in, do it as it said, and then I got to the second part, because it's in 3 different parts, and saw that again, and I put the project in timeout for a week while I thought about it. Because at the time, I figured I could do this color and weigh it and get to the end and just stripe and it'll be fine, and who cares if I don't like it. I also thought about trying to stripe it through it, and I had an idea of trying to make it match with eyelet rows, but I wasn't sure if that would be enough. I also had some bare yarn that I had bought 10 skeins of it just because as a multi-pack I needed 5. I got the pack of 10 because it was cheaper, so I still have 5 skeins of bare yarn that need a project. So it's like I could easily grab 2 of them and make the wings, but this is so bright and colorful. I didn't know if I wanted it to be plain white, and it would be a lot of plain white. And then I was looking at some other projects and trying to plan for them. And I will get into the details a little bit more of what project this is coming from, but I realized there were 2 skeins of this Cascade Heritage that I was no longer going to be putting in the project, and I felt like the color would go really, really well. So with the 2 skeins, it would be enough that I could do the wings in one solid color. I like the way this jewel-toned teal goes with everything, and while it was in timeout, I was just deciding what option I wanted to go with. This was the option I chose, and so I picked up the stitches on Friday and worked this far yesterday. There's a few things I'm not totally thrilled with, but I don't want to pick it out and do it again. It's just one of those where if I had known, I would have done it a little differently. So my original thought with the striping colors in was to make it go with the eyelet rows. And I'm really glad I didn't do that, because when I was reading the pattern, I just kind of assumed the eyelet rows were going to be like this and go in between the colors, but no. When you work them, the eyelet rows kind of line up this way, but it's worked this way. So it would have looked weird. It told me to do all of these eyelet rows, place a marker, and then you're just kind of running them out that way as you do your decreases. I think I would have liked it better if I just gone ahead and added in eyelet rows all the way up, because there's a large section there with no eyelet rows. And it's going to be fine. I'm going to end up with this little triangle there, and then it'll be fine. But I think it would have looked better with the 2 more eyelet rows going up from each one of these. And maybe that is what the designer intended, but following the pattern, that is not what it read. So that is not what I did. I don't hate it enough to pull out all my work and do it that way. It's just well, if I ever make this again, that's what I would do. So I am very happy with how it's turning out. I'm not 100% sure what I will do with this main skein now, since it's not going in this. I do have a vague idea of using some of the mini skein leftovers with this to do a pair of socks, but I will get into that a little bit more in a minute when I talk about some of my project planning and why I'm not doing all my advents at once. But it kind of just comes down to there are several pairs of socks like that I want to do where they would stripe and they would not be very mobile projects. And so I don't know how many of those I want to commit to right now. So maybe, but maybe not. So as you can see from the 8 projects I showed, I definitely have a lot kind of going on. I've kind of started to get it into my head that I need to do everything again. And I feel like it's kind of a stress response for me, I think, where as soon as I get a little bit stressed, my brain decides to try to add on more stress. So it's not fun. It's kind of made me want to keep going ahead on like my monthly projects. It's made me want to cast on new projects early. It's made me want to go back to scrappy projects, and it's not all working well for me. So it's part of why I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going with that scrappy blanket right now or if I'll put it aside a little bit. There's a lot to kind of figure out with that. So currently, of the projects that I'm still working on, I have my pair of socks for Tina, my shawl, and those are really only the 2 projects that I'm working on daily. Kind of the coziest memory, but even then, I'm not necessarily picking up that one every day. I have kind of wanted to just work on my monthly projects every month. Like, I finished the monthly projects for January. So there's a part of me that's like, okay, so just pick up and start on February now, and then you will be ahead. But I'm trying to make myself not do that this weekend, because as much as I am enjoying those projects, I don't need to overwhelm myself getting ahead when I could just work on the other projects. So part of why I wanted to do those as monthly projects is so they did not become my entire focus projects. They're big projects, so I don't want to force myself to do them all the time. I wanted to allow myself to do several projects, and that is part of why I don't want to do all of my advent calendars that way. And I mean, one of the other reasons is I feel like I would not finish stuff as quickly, because it'd be like, well, I have all of these, each of them I'm only doing this much a month, and then trying to squeeze other projects in around it. And I feel like I think for me, I do need to have enough finished projects. I'm not entirely a product knitter or crocheter, but I'm not a product maker. Like, I do like to have the finished product when I'm done. So keeping some of them going all year so that I'm still working on them, and some of them going a little faster, I think will allow me to have output at a rate that keeps myself happy, if that makes sense. So with that, the ones that I currently have going yearly are my Ruby and Roses, which is an anthology, and then my Fangirl Fibers Haunted Holiday is a Yorkshire crochet along blanket. Both of them, I've got 2 colors done for January. I am going to be aiming for 2 colors done for February. I am not going to start those this weekend. I'm going to start those probably next weekend, which will be right as February starts. The other advent calendars that I still have that are not currently going yet. So one is from Maple and Barley, and it was a 12-day Zodiac themed one. I thought about trying to add that on because 1 color a month for a year, super doable, even if I'm doing my socks in tandem. But I know I'd want to get ahead on that. And the other reason why I don't want to spread that one out over a year is because I know the stripes on the socks, I'm planning on doing 10 row stripes, and that's going to leave me with a decent amount of yarn. So I'm probably going to do a second project with that one as well. Now I could just say I did the socks, it's fine. I have used that advent calendar before the end of the year. And that might be what I end up doing. But I have also seen several like cowls that are designed to use a little bit less, or use 12-day advent calendars. And the idea of doing that with the leftovers, it would be nice if I still had time to do that one as well as the other one this year. The other thing I have considered, as much as I'm sitting here complaining about doing 2 pairs of socks with each of these Broadway shows, the daughter who is getting Broadway socks and who loves getting her hand knit socks from me lately also really likes Zodiac and Zodiac themed things. So it's like I could make myself a pair and then I would still have plenty to make her a pair. And then of course I have another daughter who just desperately wants any form of hand knit socks from me at any time because she is little and she's excited about it. Even if she does not really wear the 1 pair that I have made her so far, she still would like more. So technically I could use that one and make 3. And so if I spread it out over the year, I would run out of time. The other 2 that I have that are not currently started on anything at all right now, because I have my Wonderful Wool finished, 2 committed, like already started. The 3rd one I'm actually starting to, or 4th one, I am actually starting to ball up the yarn from Maple and Barley with the idea that I will get those socks started and they may be going during the time I've been working on the Coziest Memory blanket lately. And I could just do those stripes slowly. It'll take a little while, but it'll give me some knitting and I will have them started. And if I decide that's not fast enough, I can work on them at other times as well. So that leaves me with 2 more advent calendars. One is my So Happy Jane that I am planning on making a twisted t-shirt. And I kind of am doing a little bit of project planning where I had planned on starting that one after I finished my Advent baby blanket. But I had kind of planned on taking up to 2 months to finish that baby blanket. So I may start that shirt. The plan was to start it in March. And I may just start it when I'm done with my passport shawl and make that one a little bit more of a focus so I can finish that one as well. And then the last advent calendar that I have is A Chick That Knits. And the reason why I don't have an idea of when I'm going to start that one is not going month to month. Well, I guess technically first, the reason I'm not doing the month to month with the So Happy Jane is just also I'd like to have it finished so that in the spring and summertime I can wear it because it will be a short sleeved shirt. So I'd like to have it finished by the season for it. And then A Chick That Knits, I know I want it to be a shawl or a scarf, somewhat picked out a pattern for it, but I have not fully picked out a pattern for that one yet. So because I don't 100% know what I want it to be, I don't want to rush myself to start it into a project just so that I can get 2 colors done in January and then not be happy with it 4 months down the line because I forced myself to pick a project that I didn't actually want. So like I said, I have some ideas of what project that one might be, but I'm not 100% yet. So I'm trying to give myself time to find the right project, and then my plan is to try to get working on that one after my So Happy Jane. So that's kind of my basic project planning right now. I'm thinking that I'm going to finish the square I'm working on with the Coziest Memory, and then maybe just start working on cuffs for a few socks. Because as soon as I finish my Tina socks, I will be starting the Wicked socks. So I could technically start working on the cuffs in my I only have time for a couple of rows knitting. Same with my Maple and Barley Zodiac advent calendar. I could just start working on the cuffs now. No matter what I end up doing full time with that project, there's no reason why I can't start working on it in those little moments where, hey, maybe I'm only going to have time to do 2 rounds. Maybe I'm going to have time to do a full color. And I think I need to get going on that in the same way that I wanted to do the Coziest Memory during that time, where, you know, you finish projects by doing just a little bit at a time. So I need to do that little bit if I want to get going. So that is, I think, all that I have. I'm not sure that my project planning section there was super exciting. I don't really have a lot of life stuff. I have been working, trying to get my sleep better. The only real life stuff I had, as I keep talking about all these Broadway socks, I almost forgot to mention, last night was one of our Broadway shows, and we went and saw Hamilton. It shouldn't shock anybody. It was amazing. I don't know the music of them. I have intentionally not known more than necessary about any of the shows that I was going to go see because I want to be in the moment and enjoy them. And it's really hard to be in the moment enjoying them if I'm comparing them to the Disney Plus produced with the original cast. I want to enjoy it that way. But that being said, my daughter, who knows the music really well and was sitting next to me, I'm not going to say singing along because she was not audible, but she was definitely into each of the songs. And while I was enjoying it because it was a first experience with any of it, she was enjoying it because she already knew the music and loved it. So I guess both ways work. Just kind of depends on what you want. So it did leave me a little bit tired because, of course, I was out doing that until almost 11 o'clock last night, and I'm usually a little bit earlier to bed because my alarm goes off early every day, no matter what day of the week it is. And now I'm kind of tired, but yeah, that's really the only exciting life thing I've had in a little while. Hopefully I will one day have more exciting life things, but I do tend to be a little bit of a homebody. Whether that's good for me or not, I do tend to do that. On the upside, it does allow me to have the 8 projects over there that have been going because I'm always home. But sometimes I wonder if I'm choosing to always be home because of those 8 projects instead of working on those 8 projects because I'm home. Maybe it's just a vicious cycle. Any which way, I'm definitely deep in the ramble right now. That is all I have for you today. Until we see each other again, have a very happy making.